Let's rewind back to 2011. This was the year that passing took over the NFL. Six quarterbacks threw for over 4,500 yards. Three of them went past 5,000, and it's only one season that's ever happened. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Eli Manning, and Phillip Rivers. Every week, one of these guys would put up some huge numbers and defenses couldn't even stop them. Rules were favoring the pass and teams were pushing offenses harder than ever. And because of this, quarterbacks were taking advantage. By the end of the year, the NFL looked extremely different. So before we dive into the numbers, we need to understand how we got here. For years, the NFL has slowly started shifting towards offense. Rule changes in 2004 restricted defensive backs from making contact with receivers beyond 5 yards. In 2006, those rules were enforced even harder. The league introduced protections for quarterbacks. No hitting them low, no hitting them high, no touching them after they released the ball. Defenses were pretty much handcuffed at this point. Offenses were unleashed. In 2010, we saw a preview. Peyton Manning threw for 4,700 yards, Tom Brady threw just 4 interceptions all season, and Phillip Rivers threw for 4,710 yards. At this point, you could tell that the league was changing. But when the 2011 season kicked off with a Thursday night shootout between the defending Super Bowl champion Packers and the high-powered Saints, it became clear that this season would be different. The final score was Packers 42, Saints 34. And the combined passing yards over 700. And this video is in partnership with Kalshi. Now let's see what the market thinks about the Ravens winning the AFC North. So this trade is at 48 cents. This means the market thinks that there's a 48% chance that the Ravens win the AFC North. Unlike sportsbooks, Kalshi lets you trade without limits, build positions, and even earn interest on long-term trades. If you want to support my channel, use the link in my description to sign up or use the code SPORTSTICKS. Now back to the video. And that was just week 1. Week after week, the scoreboard is lit up. Quarterbacks were throwing for 300, 400, and even 500 yards in single games. The 2011 season was a passing revolution. Let's start with the reigning Super Bowl MVP, Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers came into 2011 with a chip on his shoulder. He'd already proven he could win a big one. Now he wanted to prove he was the best quarterback in football, and he did exactly that. Aaron Rodgers threw for 4,643 yards, 45 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions in 2011. He completed 68% of his passes and had a 122.5 passer rating. And that passer rating, it's an NFL record that still stands today. But the numbers only tell a part of the story. Rodgers didn't just put up stats, he played the most efficient season a quarterback has ever played. 3rd and long, it's getting converted. A blitz coming, doesn't really matter. A pocket collapsing, Rodgers rolls out and drops a dime 40 yards downfield like it's nothing. One of his best games came against the Broncos in week 4. 408 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Rodgers definitely had his receivers looking like superstars. Greg Jennings had 7 catches for 103 yards and Jordy Nelson had 5 catches for 91 yards, both of them coming down with touchdowns. The Packers won 49-23 and it wasn't even close. Rodgers led the league in efficiency and made the Packers offense one of the most dangerous in the NFL. They started the season 13-0. Their first loss didn't come until week 15 and even then it barely even mattered. And at the end of the season, Rodgers was named unanimous MVP. But if Aaron Rodgers was the most efficient, then Drew Brees was probably the most prolific. Drew Brees threw for 5,476 yards in 2011, leading the league. He also had 46 touchdowns and 110.6 passer rating. 5,476 yards. Let that sink in. Dan Marino's single season record has stood for 27 years. Brees shattered it by nearly 400 yards. One of his biggest games came in week 7 against the Colts. Brees went 31 for 35 with 325 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. The Saints won this game 62-7 and this set a franchise record for points and victory margin. But the moment that defined Brees' season came in week 16 against the Falcons. Monday Night Football, national audience, and Drew Brees was chasing history. Drew's 9-yard touchdown to Darren Sproles broke the single season passing yard record.
Hitting 7 yards, Brees throws, end zone, touchdown, and there's the record.
5,476 yards. Drew Brees led the Saints to the highest passing yard total of the season and set the tone for what a modern passing offense could do. Drew Brees became a legend. And then there's Tom Brady. By 2011, Brady had already won 3 Super Bowls. He'd already proven he was one of the greatest to ever play the game, but at this point, he had never thrown for 5,000 yards in a season until now. In this 2011 season, Tom Brady threw for 5,235 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. His completion rate was 65.6% with a 105.6 passer rating, and he had the perfect weapons to get these numbers up. Gronk was unstoppable. The 6'6" tight end had 17 touchdowns, which was an NFL record for tight ends. Wes Welker caught 122 passes for over 1,500 yards, and together they formed a dangerous duo in football. One of Brady's best games came in Week 1 against Miami. 517 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Brady connected with Gronk, Hernandez, and Wes Welker all day. Gronk had 1 touchdown with 86 yards to go with it, and Wes Welker had 160 yards with 2 touchdowns. The Patriots won 38-24, and Brady made it look easy. Brady kept the Patriots in every game and proved he could still carry a passing-heavy offense. The Patriots went 13-3 in the regular season, earning the #1 seed in the AFC. And in Week 17, Brady joined the 5,000-yard club. 338 yards against Buffalo, and the final tally was 5,235 yards. 2 legends, 1 season, and 2 quarterbacks breaking a record that had stood for nearly 3 decades. Brady didn't just get the yardage crown, that belonged to Breeze, but he proved that at 34 years old, he could still be at the top of his game. And with the #1 seed in the AFC, Brady had his eyes set on another Super Bowl. And now let's talk about the most unexpected member of the 5,000-yard club, Matthew Stafford. Stafford had only played 13 games in his first 2 seasons due to injuries. Yeah, he was talented, but he was also unproven. But 2011 changed everything. Stafford threw for 5,038 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions with a 97.2 passer rating. He also had the perfect target, Calvin Johnson, Megatron, 6'5", 240 pounds of pure athleticism. Megatron caught 96 passes for 1,681 yards and 16 touchdowns in 2011. He could not be guarded. One of Stafford's best games came in Week 17 against the Packers. Matthew Stafford threw for 520 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, the most passing yards by any quarterback that season. Calvin Johnson also helped him out with 244 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Now this is how you know this was a crazy offensive year. The Packers backup quarterback Matt Flynn, who didn't start a single game that season, threw for 480 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Stafford's gunslinger style made the Lions' offense explosive and unpredictable. He threw into tight windows, he took chances, and he aired it out. And for the first time since 1999, the Detroit Lions made the playoffs. Stafford proved he belonged in the conversation with the NFL's elite, and he did it in style. And then there's Eli Manning. Eli Manning threw for 4,933 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 16 picks. In the regular season, his completion rate was 61% with a 92.9 passer rating. He didn't lead the league in any major category, and he wasn't the most efficient. He also didn't have the flashiest stats, but he definitely had something else. And that something else was clutch DNA. One of the best regular season performances came in the final week of the season against the Cowboys. 24 for 33, 346 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The Giants came out with the win 31-14 against their division rivals. This was the perfect time to get hot for Eli, right before the playoffs with a gauntlet of a playoff schedule. Because in the playoffs, that's where Eli Manning became legendary. The wild card round, Giants versus the Falcons in Atlanta. Eli threw for 277 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Giants win 24-2. Divisional round, the defending Super Bowl champions, Lambeau Field, freezing cold. Eli threw for 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. This led to the Giants upsetting the 15-1 Packers 37-20. And then comes the NFC Championship, Giants versus the 13-3 49ers in San Fran. 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Giants win in overtime 20-17. 3 games, 923 yards, 8 touchdowns, and Eli was not done. Then comes Super Bowl 46, a rematch against Tom Brady and the Patriots. Eli threw for 296 yards and 1 touchdown, but the throw everyone remembers, 38 yards to Mario Manningham on the sideline. Perfect throw, perfect catch, and Eli shows his clutch DNA once again. The final score was 21-17. Eli Manning wins his 2nd Super Bowl and his 2nd Super Bowl MVP. In the playoffs, Manning threw for 1,219 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's the most passing yards in a single postseason in NFL history. He also completed 106 passes on 163 attempts, setting records that still stand today. Eli Manning wasn't the best quarterback in the regular season, but when it mattered most, he was absolutely unstoppable. And that's what made 2011 his year too. And then there's the sixth quarterback who quietly put together a high-powered offensive season, Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers threw for 4,624 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 20 interceptions in 2011. His completion rate was 62.9% with an 88.7 passer rating. Rivers didn't break 5,000 yards, he didn't win MVP, and he also didn't make the playoffs. But he was the sixth quarterback to throw for over 4,500 yards in 2011. This cemented this season as the most explosive passing year in NFL history. One of his best games came in Week 17 against the Raiders. He went 19 for 26, 310 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception with a 38-26 win. Rivers consistently produced big passing numbers in the Chargers offense that relied on him, and Antonio Gates was one of his go-to targets. Rivers may not have gotten the headlines, but he was just as important to the 2011 story. Because 2011 wasn't just about 1 or 2 quarterbacks having great seasons, it was about an entire generation of gunslingers pushing the limits of what was possible. And Philip Rivers was right there with them. So why did 2011 happen? How did 6 quarterbacks all have career years in the same season? Offenses were moving faster and spreading the field with multiple wideouts. In 2011, NFL teams averaged about 34 pass attempts per game, reflecting the league's growing shift towards a pass-heavy offense. And defenses couldn't really keep up. Even the best defenses gave up over 250 passing yards a game. Elite offenses averaged over 300, 6 quarterbacks over 4,500 yards, and 3 over 5,000. The NFL had never seen anything like it, and it hasn't seen it since. So that moves us into some info about the playoffs. Eli Manning wasn't the only QB producing in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers threw for 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception against the Giants in the divisional round with 46 pass attempts. Tom Brady threw for 878 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in 3 playoff games, with his highest playoff passing game being 363 yards. Drew Brees threw for 466 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in his wildcard win against the Lions. He then went on to throw for 462 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in the divisional round against the Niners. This gave him a total of 928 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in 2 playoff games. Even Tim Tebow had a 300-plus yard, 2-touchdown game in the 2011 playoffs. Quarterbacks carried their teams through shootouts and high-scoring games. It was clear that the NFL had shifted towards offense and no defense could stop the passing game. Even in January, even in the cold, and even with playoff pressure, the 2011 season proved that elite gunslinger quarterbacks could take over at any time. So what's the legacy of 2011? 6 quarterbacks threw for over 4,500 yards. 3 went past 5,000. Eli Manning set the all-time single postseason passing record, and 2011 was the only season like it in NFL history. No season before had 3 5,000-yard passers, and no season since has matched it. After 2011, teams adjusted their offenses. More quarterbacks pushed the limits, the spread offense became the norm, and today's NFL looks a bit like 2011. High-powered passing offenses, elite quarterbacks leading explosive offenses, and defenses scrambling to keep up. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, they're all chasing what Brees, Brady, Rodgers, Stafford, Manning, and Rivers proved in 2011. That season proved the power of elite quarterbacks and how they could carry a team. 2011 will always be remembered as the year quarterbacks broke the NFL, and the numbers still stand as proof. And that's it. Subscribe if you enjoyed and comment what I should cover next.